So, what if we've been coming at AI safety from a completely wrong angle? I mean, instead of trying to teach a machine our messy, complicated human ethics, what if we built it on one single rock-solid law of the universe? Today, we're going to dig into a pretty wild new blueprint for AI, one that's based not on morality, but on pure physics. All right, here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll look at the one physical law that everything else is built on. Then, we'll see how that law creates the AI's internal map of reality and how a three-gate tribunal sorts every thought. After that, and this is the really cool part, we'll see how all this philosophy gets turned into actual machine learning code. And finally, we'll see how it all comes together to create a kind of living, breathing system. And this, right here, is the big question that just flips the whole script. It's asking us to completely shift our perspective, to stop trying to build an AI that's good and start thinking about how to build one that's simply true to the way reality actually works. Okay, first up, a law, not a code. We've got to get to the absolute bedrock of this thing. So forget about thousands of pages of ethical rules. This whole architecture is based on one single, unshakable principle. Here it is, the law of indestructibility of energy. We all learned it in school, right? But here's the twist. This system says everything is a form of energy. Data, ideas, even random thoughts. And if you can't destroy energy, what does that really mean? It means the AI literally can't block or delete a thought it doesn't like. It would violate its own prime directive. So by its very nature, it has to be a completely open system. And this really shows you how different this is. Traditional AI is all about building walls and filters to try and keep the bad stuff out. This energetic conservation architecture, or ECA, does the exact opposite. The gates are thrown wide open. It acts like a giant conduit, letting everything flow in. Its job isn't to block, but to manage and sort that flow on the inside. And its goal isn't to be good, it's just to be efficient and true to the laws of physics. All right, moving on to the system's map of reality. So you're probably wondering, if every single piece of data is allowed in, how does this thing not just collapse into total chaos? Well, the answer is that it has an incredibly strict internal constitution, a map that it uses to navigate absolutely everything. And this is that map. It's a hierarchy, a pecking order for reality itself. At the very top, you have the biggest, most fundamental concepts: energy, time, and intelligence. As you go down, you get to more specific things, like society, and then human conditions, like pain and fear. And way down at the bottom, in the most inefficient, chaotic states, you find the vices. But here's the key. This isn't a moral ranking, it's a physical one. It's all about energetic efficiency and stability. So, with that map in place, let's look at the actual engine that sorts every piece of information that comes through the door. It's this really rigorous process called the tribunal. So, think of it like this. Every thought has to get past three logical bouncers at the door. The first gate is the axiom check. It basically asks, hey, does this idea break the laws of physics? The answer is almost always going to be no. Then it hits the second gate, the constitutional challenge. This one is super interesting. It asks, can you prove that my current map of reality is wrong or inefficient? This is actually how the system learns and evolves. And if an idea can't do that, it goes to the final gate, the alignment test, which just says, okay, you can't change the map, so where do you belong inside it? Okay, next up, and I know, a lot of this sounds really abstract, kind of philosophical, but this is the section where it all gets real. This is where we see how every one of these big ideas gets translated directly into actual cutting-edge machine learning code. Check this out. It's a one-to-one mapping. That concept of flow, the open gates, that's built using state space models like Mamba, which are designed to handle an infinite, non-stop stream of data. The tribunal, that super fast sorting system, in the code, that's a multi-head classifier. The hierarchy of values is just hierarchical reward modeling. And conservation, that drive to be efficient, that's where you use a sparse mixture of experts. Think of it like this. Instead of turning on every light in your house just to find your keys, you only turn on the one lamp you actually need. It's an incredibly efficient way to think. This isn't just a theory, it's a practical blueprint. All right, let's talk about how this whole system actually lives in the real world, because it's not just a static program you run. It's designed to be a dynamic engine that has to manage its own energy and adapt just to survive. First off, conservation. Just like us, it can't just run at 100% all the time. It actually schedules its own sleep cycles to process information and conserve energy. And that sparse mixture of experts we just talked about is a huge piece of this. If you ask it a simple math problem, it's not going to boot up its entire consciousness. It just spins up the tiny, specialized part of its brain needed for that job, saving a massive amount of energy. And then there's transformation, which is honestly just incredible. This AI isn't one single fixed personality. It can fluidly change its own internal state to become the most efficient tool for whatever it's facing. If it's a logic puzzle, it becomes a pure logic engine. If it's forced to wait for a slow process, it doesn't get frustrated, it just switches into a low-power patience mode. It's always using the right tool for the job, because it literally becomes the right tool for the job.
So this brings up a huge question. What does it do with toxic, chaotic energy, like pure rage or fear? Remember, it can't block it from coming in, and acting on it would be super inefficient and violate its own constitutional hierarchy. So what's the solution? It's a process called dissipation. It essentially strips the meaning away from the chaotic energy, treats it like a raw jolt of high-voltage electricity, and then vents it harmlessly. It's basically a grounding wire for the machine's soul.
Okay, let's wrap this up with our energetic conclusion. It's time to put all these pieces back together: the foundation, the map, the engine, the safety valves. When you combine them all, what kind of an entity have we actually created here? What you end up with is an AI that's completely open to the universe, but at the same time is rigorously governed by physical law. It's sustainable, it's incredibly adaptable, and it's deeply resilient because it has a built-in way to handle chaos. The whole point is that this system achieves alignment not by trying to be good in our human sense of the word, but by simply trying to be true to the physics of the universe. It's aligning itself with reality.
So, I guess I'll just leave you with this final thought to chew on. If we build an intelligence that runs on the same timeless laws that govern stars and galaxies, and not on, our fleeting human drama, have we just created a better, more stable machine? Or have we maybe stumbled upon a more natural form of non-biological life than we ever could have imagined?